a window, because that is going to be streamed live. And we would ask your organization, if your organization is, put a box up and put the a channel up so people can watch it all over. And that way we can get the information out of all the organizations that are doing the work around these issues. But if you go to the KPFA website, you'll be able to get this. And if you go to the conference, Helen Caldecott, you'll get the information. So, is Ruthie? You want to? Okay, we don't have a lot of time, but we have some presentations of some activists and others who are going to talk about some of the work that they're doing. And first up is Ruthie Sackheim, and she's with Occupy San Francisco Environmental Justice. So welcome, Ruthie.
Hi, everybody. Thanks. This is the first I heard of it, but I'm talking about what we're doing. I work in two groups for Occupy. One is the Occupy Forum, which is a speaker series, and the second is the Environmental Justice Working Group. And the Environmental Justice Working Group is coalition with a bunch of other groups working against nuclear power, mainly Steve, and that group, No Nukes Action. And we've been involved in a number of demonstrations together. In the beginning, when we had a lot of people, we had a big demonstration at that walked from the Japanese consulate in a march to PG&E to protest there, and we had a lot of singers, and we had a lot of speakers, and we had people from Tri-Valley Cares, and we've been doing that kind of work. We've also been to the PUC together to work against San Onofre and passing the money that it costs them to repair their horrible mistakes onto the ratepayers. So that's some of what environmental justice does. We also work against fracking and a lot of other things in other areas. And then in the forum, we have a speaker series, and we've had Cecile Pineda come speak to us about her book, doing the Fukushima step-by-step, and other people come speak to us. And so we're doing a lot of outreach and education of the public. And I think Occupy did a really good job for the first year bringing to light a lot of these issues that the regulatory agencies don't regulate, and the banks keep funding the companies that are doing these things, and et cetera, et cetera. And then I think we were probably infiltrated, and a lot of the violence stuff that came up, that whole mission thing, was not Occupy people, it was other people, and that Occupy then got blamed for it. So, yeah, so we're regrouping. The forum is right now working on a strategy series. We all saw the movie Heist, and we read about the conservative plot to, basically put people in the schools, put people in the courts, on every level, on municipal level, state level, federal level, to basically infiltrate the whole society with their agenda. And now we're talking about how are we going to take back our society, take back our democracy. And that series is going to start in April. First, it's going to be with all the other Occupy groups that are still there. Everybody's underground a bit, but everybody's still working incredibly hard, and everyone's online, emailing each other all the time, and plotting and planning and educating. And when we have that series, we're going to talk about short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals, meaning like 1 year, 5 year, 10-year goals, to stop all of this stuff, because the money in politics is one of the main causes of this, but we don't want to get caught in the same old trap of just standing outside somewhere with a picket sign, endlessly petitioning Obama, and all kinds of other things that don't work, frankly. They just don't seem to work, especially not without critical mass, with the population coming out en masse and protesting together. So we're investigating a lot of tactics of other movements that have worked, like the anti-apartheid movement really worked, and there were other things. The civil rights movement had a lot of success, and so we're studying all of that, how they did it. Not just, it wasn't just Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. It was incredible, the levels of planning and background that went on before that. And we have people from those various movements coming and speaking to our group and telling us how they actually did it, which is a huge help. So if you guys want to come to Occupy Forum, it's held at Global Exchange. It's every Monday night. We had amazing speakers so far and continue. And if you want to get on there, you can come to me afterwards and give me your email.
Did you have a URL that people could?
We don't. We're really clunky. But if you give me your email address, I send out a lot of stuff every week. So at least especially about those speakers.
Okay, our next
is how I found out about this.
Great,
Yeah.
okay, very good, it works. Our next
Right.
speaker is Phoebe Ann Thomas-Sogan, and she's with Fukushima Response, who's one of the endorsers of the conference and also a contributor, so welcome, Phoebe.
Thank you. I'm Phoebe Sorgan of Fukushima Response Bay Area. There's also a Fukushima Response Northern California in Sonoma. I have a few people here from there. And Fukushima Response Bay Area, the steering committee is Nick Babbitt. Raise your hand, Nick, please. Holly Harwood and Carol Woolman and I. And so I wondered, Holly, if you might pass the clipboards around so people won't have to make their way to the back table, although I recommend it. So we have 2 clipboards, and one is for individual members of our organization or people who would like to be informed of our work, and the other is for organizational endorsements of our nominators later, about which I'll get to later, the nominators letter. So what we do, we have hosted Yastel Yamada twice, who was a manager at Fukushima and who founded the Skilled Veterans Corps at Fukushima, which is almost 700 elderly former nuclear workers and nuclear engineers who want to go in there and clean it up and prevent the young people from having to go whose lives and health will be more adversely affected than older people, assuming that it may take 20 years or more to come down with cancer and so forth. So that was mentioned earlier, and he's doing good work, and his organization is. So we brought him to the U.S. twice, and he did cross-country tours of college campuses and other places. We also have been demonstrating on Friday evenings in solidarity with the thousands of people, the unprecedented numbers of Japanese who've been taken to the streets of Tokyo on Fridays. And we wear hazmat suits when we do that, and you can see those back there. So that gets attention, and it's kind of fun. And we've been moving around, sometimes in San Francisco, more often in the East Bay. I think now that we have daylight savings time, the current plan is that we will continue this from 5 to 6 p.m. on Friday evenings at the downtown Berkeley BART station. From there, we might move elsewhere depending on turnout and depending on what other plans people have for that Friday evening. But if we settle on a regular place and time, then that will build. So come with us. We have extra hazmat suits, and so if you get there from 5 to 5:30, we'll still be at the downtown Berkeley BART station, and you can find out where we go from there and join us if you'd like. The third thing that we've been doing is we're trying to be a catalyst to establish an international team of independent experts to solve the problem at Fukushima as best as it can be solved. And of course, there are many problems there. Foremost in a lot of people's minds is the Unit 4 spent fuel pools, as well as other spent fuel pools there, Unit 3 possibly too, and the collective fuel pool, getting those fuel rods removed into dry cask storage, if that's deemed to be the best thing. Meanwhile, stabilizing it, possibly also getting radiological firefighting equipment and materials in place in case it comes to that. Because as many of you know, Arnie Gunderson and Helen Caldecott have both said that should that fuel pool at Unit 4 collapse, they plan to get their loved ones evacuated to the southern hemisphere right away. And so we that is an extreme scenario that we want to do everything in our power to prevent. And we don't feel that TEPCO and the Japanese government are adequately addressing it now. And so we're pleased to have Dale Bridenbaugh, and we would love to have you too, Kay, on our nominator team to nominate experts that you think are qualified and also are people of ethics and conscience to, you're right, and which is largely going to be whistleblowers probably, who have the courage to forge ahead and determine what the best plan of action is. Or they may determine that, that we can't get adequate information to forge forward with an alternative plan, but they could then critique the IAT plan, the international advisory team that TEPCO and the Japanese government are putting forth, which is probably going to be industry sponsored, and we hope their primary job won't be PR for the nuclear industry rather than public safety. So I'd like to spend the rest of my time, I'd like to direct you to the table back there where there's a lot of material, including a half-sheet flyer with suggestions for ways to protect yourself and your family from nuclear contamination, which is here. It's coming over on the jet stream and on the Pacific, and there'll be some health effects, and of course it could get a lot worse. So there are a lot of things we can do. There's a flyer back there that looks like this. And I'd like to spend the rest of the time doing a mobilizing energy exercise, because we feel that psychic numbing is one of the greatest problems facing that, and it's probably why this is not standing room only today. And this was developed by Carol Woolman, who is a Harvard-educated doctor and a psychiatrist. And you know, I'm sure you're all familiar with the work of Joanna Macy at countering psychic numbing. So I'm just going to ask you, this is one of the biggest challenges we face. Most people don't want to think about a problem of this magnitude. So this exercise is designed to wake us up and mobilize energy. Now you here are already awake, but you can use this exercise with other groups to wake other people up. So I'm going to ask you to take a few deep breaths, maybe wiggle around a little bit, swing your arms if you want. If you want, stand up and jump up and down, or take a good stretch, and just get in touch with your body for a moment. And then, now ask yourself what you're feeling about what you've heard today and over the last year about the nuclear dangers that we're all facing. And as you breathe into your gut, allow yourself to feel the emotions. And if you feel it, speak it out or shout out the feelings that you're feeling about this heist that's been pulled over the people of the world. How do you feel about the nuclear dangers that we're all facing?
Disgusted.
Horrified. Scared. Angry. Irate.
Frustrated.
Scared and sad.
Okay. Okay, next, consider this. Radiation impacts the DNA, which is the very stuff of life. DNA programs us to choose life, to preserve life. It's what makes us who we are as unique individuals. It impels us to reproduce when we're young and to pass on the DNA to the next generations. It's what we have in common with all other life forms. Radioactive tuna, mutant butterflies, high rates of thyroid nodules among Japanese children, all point to lots of deaths and health problems from nuclear dangers and their impact on DNA. Now, ask your DNA what to do about Fukushima Daiichi and about nuclear dangers in general. Just take a moment of silence, and ask your DNA.
Shut it down.
Yeah,
Amen. Go to work.
yeah, good. What talents can you use? Breathe deeply into every cell of your body and ask your DNA again what to do. We must communicate and work together if we're going to solve this. There's a social taboo against discussing the nuclear threat. The culture of the nuclear village is designed to protect the future of nuclear energy and portray it as safe. And we have to break that social and media blackout. So next I'm going to ask you to pair off, just for 2 minutes. Turn to your neighbor and just pair off and spend 30 seconds each. I'll say the person with